welcome everyone to Making Waves. This is episode 76 of the ShipRocked podcast, brought to you by the Sound Talent Media and Evergreen Podcast families. My name is Justin, and I'm on here with my co-host Chad. Say hey, Chad.
Hello.
Hey guys. Well, we're kind of still finding our sea legs after ShipRocked 2022, and our guests tonight were a late addition to that, but they put on some great shows for us, and we checked out their new album, which we'll discuss here. So please, guys, welcome Pouyan and Cove from Scary Kids Scaring Kids.
All right. Oh, hey, everybody.
What's up?
The crowd goes crazy. The crowd goes crazy. Yeah. So, guys, we'll get to the time when you guys kind of started, and you were, thank you so much. Thank you. Everyone get one of those, a coffee.
We just watched his elated reaction in real time, folks, as he's gotten his coffee.
Anyway, the new album, Out of Light, coming out on Velocity Records here. Can you give us the date again on the exact drop for that? Because I know the single's out right now.
Yeah, May 27th is when that's going to drop. All
right. Right for the summertime. It's going to be summertime music, kids. So tailgate to the new Scary Kids record. We talked about it. We had a very special listening party because only management had really heard, or your label had heard the record up to that point. So anyone that sat in on the cruise that afternoon and listened to the record, pretty much we picked I remember 6 or 7 songs that you guys had thought would be really good for people to check out. I was so impressed, and I'm going to continue to howl about this. I was so impressed with the growth of the band's sound between what you guys had done in early 2000s to now. And obviously that always comes with age, your taste change, your skills get better, whatever, the current climate. But I was so amazed by the ethereal, heavy ethereal element. And I think I said on the boat that it kind of reminded me of Melancholy from the Pumpkins. And that kind of like you had some really transitional pieces that were very spatial, but then there's ones that just kind of hammered down on it. And what was it like when you're going into the thought process of making this new record? Was it kind of be like, hey, we want to keep this varied? I know you brought in several vocalists for this, which also gave it a different flavor, a unique flavor in each track. But was there a conscientious effort to kind of make this a record that had lots of spaces and different people who bought this record weren't just going to get some like hardcore record. They're going to get so much more.
Yeah, that's it. So when we were first talking about the process was actually when we did our West Coast tour together with Cove, and we were just having such a hell of a good time on the road. Love being back together with brothers. I went to Chad's. I was Chad's best man at his wedding, our chief co-writer and our chief writer. And we're just having such a great time that we're like, well, we don't want this to end. So we thought long and hard about exactly how we were going to approach that with Tyson, our original vocalist, passing. It was a bit complicated, and ultimately what we felt like the best way to honor his legacy, but at the same time do something that felt really interesting to us and had a reason to exist, was to create all these songs and then for each song find the most appropriate vocalist, or we should say who we thought would be the best for the track. So we essentially got to create that and collaborate with a whole bunch of different vocalists on the way. Cove collaborated on 2 of those tracks. Knock It All Down, A New Morning, and ultimately we feel like we created a better CD because you're mentioning like it is. By the way, I love all the descriptors you use. You describe our album better than I think I do or anyone else has. But it's exactly that. We felt like we didn't want to create just another hardcore album. We didn't want to create more of the same. This wasn't nostalgia for us. What we wanted to do is create an album that if the song came in my Spotify daily whatever mix, that I would love it, that Chad would love it, that everyone that was involved would love hearing that, and not just because they had to seek out that band that they heard once in high school or that they had a deep connection with it, in their high school years. So we wanted something new and special.
Let me ask you guys, there was a decade of no activity from the band, and then you got together for reunions of the City Sleeps album and things like that, and Tyson passing away. Is there I imagine a massive amount of freedom to come into something like this, coming back to it with no expectations, except the ones that you're setting up? The label's not going to, your fans are kind of like, oh my God, they're still around. Well, what do they sound like? The good thing about it, all those fans from 2007, 2008, 2009, they're 10 years older too, so they've obviously grown and matured, and they're not going to be like, they don't sound like they fucking used to. But actually, the lead off single kind of does sound like what you used to. So you're kind of easing them into the process, I imagine.
Yeah, we definitely showed them the one that was like most Warped Tour Scary Kids vibe.
Right.
And some people could not come along the ride. They're like, yo, this is not 2008 Scary Kids. And we're like, yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what it not going.
But I think the process was super fun. I mean, to your point, no one had expectations. Our fans, I should say, hopefully, a lot of them weren't expecting a new album, or they shouldn't have been. Our label didn't have any expectations, and no one was, no one said, hey, what is that? I want that next album to sound like this, right? And if they were, of course, they're going to be partially disappointed. But we didn't want to do anything like boring either. But because of that lack of expectation, it felt like when we were 16, just starting the band and writing in garages again. It felt that full creative freedom of what songs are we listening to? How can we implement those current tastes into our track? Not what was that last track that did really well? What did people get excited about that last track or that last single off the last album? And how can we replicate that? So there were different conversations in the writing process.
I kind of also think that our record label, isn't like the people who work at our record label aren't the type of people who are going to be like, well, you don't have the single.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to come into the fucking studio. They're not going to come into the studio and be like, oh, this isn't it. We gotta go do something else with somebody else. And it's like, no, it's like fucking write the music that you want to write, and we'll figure this shit out, And what we did together, is badass, Like, there's not very many bands that have done what Scary Kids is doing on this record, and there's definitely no bands in their type of situation that are like, we've got this legacy, but we also want to carry it on. There's a reason, there are reasons for everything. The title of the record, the artwork of the record, these guys aren't just half-assing something and showing up and be like, well, we wrote a record, now we don't know what to do. They know what the fuck to do. And I think the label is just stoked, they're fucking pumped on this record, as they fucking should be, because it's awesome. Today's record labels, I don't feel like are like yesteryears, where they're like, you don't got it.
It's got to be free. I mean, what I like to refer to, what you just described, sounds like an onion. You're peeling it, and the whole thing is an onion, because your lives have been an onion since 2010, right? There's different every day. You've shed one layer of skin and grown another layer of skin. So you can't be expected to think the same or act the same or react the same or even move the same, which kind of brings me to my next question. What did it feel like when you were even starting the conversations with each other about doing something like this? And then subsequently, could you take us from there to coming together and actually doing it after the conversations have been hashed out?
Man, it took us a while to warm up to it. First it was getting back in the practice space together and doing the reunion tour, which was really tough in the first place, because the reason we did it is because Cove said yes to it, right? Cove agreeing to do vocals on it was the only reason we would have done the reunion tour. Cove, for context, had a deep friendship and relationship with Tyson, as well as the rest of the band on Warped Tour. He'd sleep over on our bus, and we'd hang out all day at Warped Tour, and we would be in each other, we would be in each other's camp all day, every day. So that kind of personal connection was really important to even get that back. And there were so many other things that had to fall into place. I had a full-time job. I had to be able to work every morning all day up until we did. And then even broaching the subject after, it was a little bit scary to have that much fun and a good time with it, because how much pain was associated with the bands breaking up, and the fear that, all right, if we do this again, if we get wrapped up, it's like falling in love again with, maybe a girl that's hurt you in the past, and you're like, dude, I don't know. I still have that pain, man. And then thinking that it might not be reciprocated, and how to do it the right way. And, kind of we talked about that process. which we're still really concerned about. And truthfully, I think we have to come to terms with the fact that we're having a great time, and we're creating music with, you know, brothers and one sister who does a duet on this album. And it's like, just the process is beautiful and amazing. And we have to, and that's been another great thing. We're trying to disconnect ourselves from, if the album is a success, then we did well. If the album is not a success, then we did poorly. I think what we really, and, you know, kind of have to remind ourselves of is just being able to write again.
Yeah.
That process is the joy, not its reception. And if I can feel that way, like no matter how many people are getting to share that joy that I'm feeling, which is also kind of a high, if I don't try to get addicted to that high and can just appreciate the process, I think we'll have won.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cove,
Wow,
you
that was
mentioned
probably the most mature version of an answer that, I mean, that I could have ever asked for personally. So thank you for breaking it down that way.
I think when you take off, like, how many years were you out?
Like 2 years, like
Almost 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
Like, I
10
mean,
years.
I was off almost 8, 9, something like that. And when you take off that much time, like, for the amount of touring that these guys did back in the day, like, their early 20s were like unlike anybody else's. Like, nobody else had the, like, everybody was the only people who can kind of relate were like college frat guys. But even then, it's like, we can't relate to that because it's like our frat moved every single night. Yeah. And it was like, just, I don't know. I think we've grown up. And I think the reason that, like, we're back doing things in music again is because we have this thing inside of us that's like, I have a story to tell. You know, I have something inside of me. And even though he might not be a vocalist and using those, you know, using his abilities, he's telling a story through what he plays. And he's had this like pent up aggression or, you know, these feelings. And I feel like with the maturity of like stepping away from touring and being like, oh, this is life again. This is what life was like before touring. I'm just a little bit older. I think that's like really helped.
Yeah, Cove, you brought up two. You brought up two things. One was the label doesn't have those people there to like suits. You know, it's like your Warner Brothers, and you know, there's a guy in the back who's the bean counter going, I don't hear it. And I'm like, you don't hear shit because you don't know shit. But what it does, what the label does extract from you is that you guys have a fan base and you have a following that has been there.
Yeah.
And as you hope, as most bands, as you get older, like, okay, there's going to be some that are going to peel off because, you know, they're still addicted to whatever they were, you know, you guys were. And you're going to have some that are like, hey, I'm going to go along for the ride because guess what? We've all gotten older together now. We're all in the foxhole of getting older. I'm going to evolve with these guys.
100%. And that's where I feel like these guys are at, you know? It's like we all live that life.
And then the other thing you mentioned was about making music now that you can grow with, that you can play in 5 years, 10 years down the road. You know, God help you if you're still doing it. Haha. But it's like you kind of need music that you really enjoy playing now, because if you're still playing stuff from 2005 or whenever the hell it was, and that's fine, you need to appease your fans at some point, but you also don't get caught in imposter syndrome. Like, we're just up here, we're kind of beyond this now. But you still have to throw those in because that's what people expect. And, you know, as a ticket buyer, sure, I want to hear my band, you know, I want to hear Metallica do Master Puppets, but I want to hear the new shit too, because I've evolved. I don't know if the guy next to me has evolved or not, but I have. And so you guys are really, again, in that great position where it's like, and Pouyan, you just kind of mentioned, and you kind of getting a take it or leave it philosophy. Like, hey, we're older now. I see what the real world is. We've taken a break from all this because, you know, as you're touring in the business, it kind of keeps you like you kind of get stuck. You get stymied into this adolescence, even when you're in your mid-20s. Like, I'm still a fucking kid. But the real world kicks your ass out there, and it does make you kind of go, you know what? I've had life with this, and I've had life without it. I can live both ways. So guess what? You can take this album or leave this album.
I mean, yeah, and you nailed it. Like, you know, I straight out of high school and, you know, working your ass off. Like, we were touring like 11 months out of a year, 1 year, right? And it was like, that was collectively, we spent 1 month collectively at home in between being on the road. So it gets exhausting, right? And then the grit that you need to have though to be like a road dog in a 15-passenger van, right, for years at a time, and then add these tours, and festivals where you're lugging dirt, gear across dirt for forever. That creates a certain level of grit. And if you can find anything outside of music that you have that same level of passion for, like you're gonna kill it, right? So whether this succeeds or fails, like as long as you're finding something that you have that same amount of drive for, you'll knock it out of the water. But yeah, it does create a certain level of arrested development, and maybe a fear in musicians that if that's what you do and you've done that successfully, then maybe you don't have an opportunity outside. But I would definitely challenge people to think otherwise.
Yeah. So what's the feedback so far been with some of the new music you guys have exposed to people?
Yeah, we released Knock It All Down just last week. So it has been out Tuesday of last week, and it's been getting really great feedback. People are singing it from the top of their lungs at the shows, which is really the best feeling. And as we kind of already addressed, we're like kind of easing people in a little bit. So it's a little more rocky, but I mean, we'll see how the rest of the tracks go.
What a fantastic... what a fantastic position to be in there and go, people already know your new song, like word for word. And you're like, okay, we're on the right track. We're like, we can breathe now, because now they're going to be receptive.
One down, a whole bunch more to go.
Yeah, exactly.
One down, 10 more to go. For sure. So on the tour you're on now, and remind everyone who you guys are on the road with, please.
Absolutely.
We're on the road with my band, Dead American, Glasslands, Secrets, and Drugs.
Okay. And it's a co-headlining show
quite
for you.
a nostalgic of a lineup too. So you're out there doing the damn thing again, right? For a long time with some folks that are familiar faces, and obviously Cove, you guys have a history, but you've been doing this, like you said, from Seosin, even before. So everybody's like a whole family of at least familiar faces, so it doesn't feel too treacherously awkward out there. I would hope. That's a cool feeling. Yeah.
No, it's a blast. It's a blast, like being out with the Secrets guys, because we did the first City Sleeps in Flames, the West Coast run with them. So it's good seeing them and like just instantly back into hangs.
Yeah, for sure.
Real fun.
Yeah, each tour is like a return to something familiar for sure.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Hey, Cove, I want to talk about Dead American. If we could pivot to that for a second. You got a new record coming out, Full of Smoke.
Oh, it's all out. The record's called New Nostalgia.
Okay. What's the other one, Full of Smoke? You got, is that coming out?
One of the singles.
Gotcha. Thank you for correcting me on that.
You're good, man. Nobody knows who the fuck we are, but they will at the end of this show.
Well, there you go. Part of this is an educational program as well.
Exactly. Yeah, we put out a record called New Nostalgia on the 11th of February. We have 3 singles out, videos on YouTube. It's going really well. It's like these guys are going to feel and have probably felt with this first single. It's like, I don't know. For me, I've held on to my baby for this record for like 4 years. So we had it like written and recorded before I did the West Coast run with them in 2018. So sitting on it, is it 2018? Holy shit.
We did the
2019 beginning.
I don't know, man.
I don't know either. I think it was like beginning of 2019 is when we did, that tour. So I was finished with my record in 2018.
Jesus.
So to like be sitting on this shit for that long, it's like finally like a nice release. But it much like them, I'm in the same boat where I haven't done anything for a long time. So it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but I feel like that release of like, okay, finally it's out of my hands and other people can actually like listen to it has been far different than anything I've experienced in the past, at least with the 2 Seosin records that I was on. So I'm sure for them, it'll be a very like similar, like butterfly in their stomach, where they're like, oh, what are people going to think about it? Cause they've only heard 3 songs or 2 songs, but no, it's going really good. And I think for me and for them to be releasing their record in May, like it'll be very, very similar and very exciting to see how people respond to it. Because I think what they did was one of the coolest moves. Like all of the people who know Scary Kids will know a lot of, if not all of the vocalists that are on your guys' record.
Well, it was largely your idea, wasn't it, Cove?
I mean, I threw it out there to him.
You did recommend it, right?
I threw it out there to him
because I mentioned on the West Coast.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it to him because I'm like, I want Dead American to be my band, but I want you guys to be like successful in all that you do, because I love not only you guys as humans, but I appreciate your guys' like craft, like what you guys do, you as Scary Kids. And so for me to like just even like be a part of one or two writing songs, you know, songs written, and like something that they've either been missing or something that they wanted to do in the past but were never able to do, or just realize like that music is not done just because your band is. Like you need to be playing because that's what you do, you know, like that's how you get out your like shit. You might like, at least for me, like I threw everything into the Dead American lyrics that was just like, this is all the shit that I've been dealing with since I've been gone. And I feel like with them, because they are musicians, that's what they did on this record, and they wrote all their feelings into 12 songs. Yeah, 12 songs, and like those emotions, if you just strip all the vocals, you can fucking feel like everything that they went through over the past 10 years.
Well, I was going to say the music itself, if you extrapolate the vocals and just listen to music, it's very cinematic, which leads people into an emotional headspace to begin with.
Yeah.
One thing that's funny, all the vocalists and all the people you kind of had on this, it almost feels like a collective. I'm like, wow, they've taken the Wu-Tang theory.
Yeah, exactly.
To their band, you know, the Scary Kids Collective. And
that's kind of what we're saying on stage right now. Like Cove joined us for song. We have Kurt Travis fronting the tour, and then Cove joins for his track New Morning. We have Veins, who's another artist there. He plays lead guitar for us, and he takes on his track The Unknown, which we got to play at ShipRocked, and that was a hell of a good time. But so we have two or three of the original vocalists from the album taking their track on stage, and every night it's like, all right, dude, this is like, we're all Scary Kids now.
Yeah,
like
everybody
on this album is now Scary Kid. Like we are scary.
That's gonna be special. That sounds like something you just see in a one-time like live stream. We're gonna do a special presentation with all the nuts and bolts. But if you're taking on the road, I hope that people are taking away from that like, wow, they really had to make this is a kind of a spider web, and we have to make all of this work together. And speaking of vocalists, you also have Craig from Escape the Fate on the road doing stuff with you.
He's coming out tonight.
He's coming out tonight.
All right.
We have so unfortunately for this tour, he ended up getting COVID 2 days before we left.
No, he did not.
He totally did.
We did a Making Waves, like I think 2 or 3 episodes again with him, and he was so stoked. And oh god,
we were.
Shit, man.
We were pretty bummed, but
all right,
we'll see him tonight, though.
Yeah, well, you know what? He's on the road to healing them. It's all good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then we had but yeah, so he joined, and that was super dope. But he's feeling better. He's feeling super good. We saw him today, and he's gonna be doing this on stage tonight.
That's great.
Of all the fucking luck. Well, you had a vocalist. Yeah.
How many more dates on this tour do you guys have?
Oh man, we crossed the halfway point yet?
No, Texas is the halfway point. We finished this tour on the 20th of March, so we got another 3 weeks.
And what are you guys 2 weeks in right now?
Yeah, a little over maybe.
Yeah. Do you remember? I mean, since you haven't toured in a while, do you remember back in the day when you used to be in a regiment of touring all of the time, and about 2 weeks in is when it started to feel good? At least for when I was doing it all the time, it was like 2 weeks in, and it didn't hurt as much anymore. I don't feel as crappy. And then the last 3 weeks the following 2 weeks were great, and that last week was just like absolutely like painful in every way I could at least imagine. Do you remember that feeling at all?
I think it's kind of reversed on this tour. I think all the painful shit's out of the way the first week, And then we're gonna start getting to the really good shit at the very end. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Then the bang over is like,
that's how at least I feel in the fucking Dead American band.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Oh shit.
Hey guys,
how are your bodies? That's
I can't even.
Hey, let me take a real quick commercial break because we're going to go live here in about 3 minutes. So if you guys don't mind, I'm just going to do this little bit of thing here. So, hey, folks, at this time, we'd like to remind you that not only are you listening to a kick-ass podcast right now, but we also produce an amazing rock-themed cruise vacation called ShipRocked. We just finished up our last cruise for 2022 a couple weeks ago. And if you guys remember, we had quite a few unique experiences. One of them was Lamb of God in the pouring rain. Corey Taylor's solo work and his Q&A were fantastic. We had some amazing moments with Steel Panther, and we also had a great unique moment with our guest tonight, Scary Kids. Scaring Kids, basically testing out their new record, Out of Light, for a captive audience there in the lounge. So, guys, thank you. And guys, you can go to ShipRocked.com. I think before Friday and still pre-register for ShipRocked 2023. So, thank you very much. With that said, we're going to get back to the discussion.
I was going to ask you, have you ever been on a ship before? Have you done something on a cruise ship ever? But both of you, that was like the
ShipRocked was our first cruise experience. Period.
Yeah.
Hard stop.
How did that feel? Like the whole process, like coming on board, for instance. What would you remember that?
I know Cove has a lot to say.
I got a lot to say about
ShipRocked, so I'm just gonna say point blank, I loved it. It was one of the best experiences of my life, and I'll let Cove kind of elaborate on his experiences because
I want to come back so fucking bad. I want to be on every ShipRocked till the end of fucking time. Till the end of time. I want my 6-year robe. I want all that shit.
You know what? You could have placed that better as we just went live. Welcome everyone in Facebook land. Cove wants to come out of everyone. So if you guys have a steamer trunk that can fit a guy that's probably, I don't know, he's about 165, 170, is 6 foot tall. If you can fit him in your luggage, he's coming with you.
For real.
So what like that, I mean, I feel the same way, but like what's up? Like, can you give us like at least a couple paragraphs of your reasoning here?
Oh my God, where do we start? Night one? Okay.
Good.
Yeah. Night one, we wandered the boat because we had never been on a ship. I can't call it a boat, sorry. So we wandered the boat. We literally, I think we made it to the front of the boat. I got lost getting back to the back of the boat. It was fucking nuts.
We scaled that place up and down, every single floor, front to back. We were just like in awe.
Yeah, we were completely in awe. It was one of the coolest. I don't know. For me, like having never been on a ship of that size, like that was one thing. I think getting over the fact that I'm going to be stuck with like 4,000, 5,000 just crazies. All y'all are fucking psycho. And I love every single one of you. If you didn't see me raging every single night, you blew it. Yeah, I didn't. I was out and about.
That just means you're not partying hard.
Going hard, son. Yeah, I had so many reservations.
They were pulling you out of karaoke, dude. Every single night.
I had
you were getting sent back to the room, or they were like, you gotta go over here now, dude.
Oh hell no! I spent literally like 4 hours a day in my room. That was just sleep. As soon as the light came up, your boy was out eating food on that top back level with everybody else.
I mean, I would go back for that pizza alone, to be honest. Like the fact that they just keep all that that top shelf pizza just laid out there.
Yeah, top shelf
barbecue, dog. Delicious.
The ice cream machines are my favorite part of the.
If we're live on the ShipRocked page right now, everybody who hasn't filled out your questionnaire, you need to put Scary Kids and Dead American on that bitch, because I want to be back. I'm pulling double duty next year, just like Craig Mavitt did. Real though.
There you go, guys. There you go. Everyone knows. Get those two on your list.
He's got some big Pouyan vibes, Justin. I'm loving
he's stoked. He's pretty much stoked about all of it. So let me ask you guys. So we talked earlier in this in the discussion about time off. Was there a certain point where you kind of went, I don't think I'm going to go back. I'm okay with my life. I've done that. I'm going to just center on this, maybe get a girl, family, whatever. Or was there a time when you're like, well, I'm going to go back at some point. I just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you want to go first? Or you want me to take it?
Go ahead, take it.
Yeah, I mean, I went back to school. By the way, they mailed me my diploma from high school, right? We left and we recorded an album. And I stopped attending classes. So they said, they mailed me my diploma. I also may have gotten drunk and they smelled it on me when I was playing Dance Dance Revolution at the high school. But ultimately they mailed me my diploma. And so when I went back to community college and I went to film school, then, I started working. And basically I continued working until I found myself working for this metaverse virtual reality live events company. Very happy, in working in VR and have a great girlfriend, have a great spot in Los Angeles, and I'm kind of working my way up the career path. And then my buddy Chad hits me up, and he's like, out of the blue, yeah, he's like, hey, listen, I wrote this song, would love to release it to commemorate Tyson's birthday. Tyson was our singer who passed away. And I said, absolutely, man, you should. That'd be really sweet. Go for it. And he released it under the Scary Kid's name. That ultimately got some interest. And then from that, we brought this man out on the road, who's been a longtime friend of the band and of Tyson's. And then that was supposed to be it, just a reunion tour. And then I go back to work. But it turned into a lot more. We had such a great time that we decided to make some new music. And then, we said, hey, might as well also just do a cruise every once in a while, right? Why not?
So every year.
Yeah, things continue to steamroll. And I think actually, ideally, hopefully, maybe I'm able to still have my cake and eat it too. My girlfriend hasn't left me yet. My job, I still get to work in the industry that I love outside of music. And now I have this beautiful experience of being able to write with my best friends as well. So hopefully I can maintain it all, work-life balance and joy and all that's tough to maintain, but we'll see how long I can keep it up. But yeah.
Well, I don't think it sounds like a chance series of events happened for you that brought you back in.
That's right. Yeah, it was kind of a snowball of serendipity. Yeah.
Okay. And Cove, how about you? What'd you do with your time off, man? Did you run off into film school and make movies too?
Hell no. Hell no. I ran straight to the kitchen and just cooked at a Mexican restaurant for 7 years. I cooked at a barbecue joint. I was a pit master. I work in HVAC now. I did roofing. I did a lot of shit. I've done a lot of just odd jobs here and there, but I didn't really ever lose. I lost touch with music, but I never really lost touch with writing. Have some of the most talented friends in the whole world that would just send me, little pieces of music, and I would write shit to them, but never record anything.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really until about 2017, I believe, is when Chad was introduced to me. My guitar player in Dead American was introduced to me by a friend of mine who I was his best man at his wedding. And he was like, yo, this kid's really good. You need to meet him. And so it wasn't until basically I was living in Utah, working at this barbecue. I'm not getting what they were telling me because I was looking to move up in their little business, whatever. And Chad was like, let's just fucking put it out. So we put out our EP. It's called The Shape of Punk is Dumb. And it looks like the Refused record, but just flip-flopped. A couple different photos and whatnot. But
did you get a call from them?
No, I didn't. But I got a call from Dave, the guy who runs Velocity. And before we even played our first show, he had committed to booking us. We had a tour lined up for, I think it was 2 or 3 months later, the tour started, and we hadn't even played our first show yet. And at our first show, he actually brought out somebody who I don't even know if he's working with him at Velocity, but Dave was like, I want to get my record label up and running, so don't do anything without talking to me. And I was like, hey man, bad business practice, but I'm not signing to anybody but you. Like, like you're the dude. Like, I don't want this person over here doing label, this doing, you know, booking, and then this guy over here is doing PR and fucking marketing and shit. It's like, no, dude, just let me make you the guy, you know? And I don't know, I trust that guy fucking a lot, actually. So yeah. I didn't think I didn't think I'd be touring again, but now that I'm out, I'm like, it's like ShipRocked, but I appreciate shit more. Like,
well, absolutely,
it becomes so fucking monotonous, and then it's gone, and then you're like, what happened? What is life even? And then you're like, oh yeah, this is life, and then you forget about that. Just in the same way you forgot about home life when you started touring, you forget about touring life when you're not doing. Yeah. You know, so to be back out, it's like, oh yeah, this is what it's like, but I'm older, and like, this is just a blessing. Like, you realize what like how much of a blessing touring is, and even to be able to play in front of people. Yeah, like to get the opportunity to do ShipRocked, like that shit wasn't around in 2007. You know, it wasn't around back when we were like popping off at Warped Tour. It was just Warped Tour that we had to do. So for us to be able to do like all these things at our age now, our almost 40 age, it's pretty dope.
Bro, I'm mid-30s.
I know.
Chill,
I know. You're mid-30s, but you're pushing 37.
Yeah, but still, dude.
Me too.
He's up.
I love that, man. And Shapiro's good is one of the good ones, man. He's a great human, and to hear the fact that like, you know, that's your roots too, to hear that you're back doing it again, full circle with people that are familiar, and it's got to be a lot.
100%.
Yeah.
The fact that I don't have to talk to his motherfucking day to day, and I can just call Dave. Like direct, like that's so sick. That's so vastly different than like anything I had dealt with in the past. So it's like, I need anything, I need something, whatever, one phone call. So rad.
So it must have been. There's times probably no, Cove, when you were talking about what you've done, you were cooking and doing those things, and you're working in other jobs. It's like it's easy to lose that creative spark that takes you back to what you're doing now. You know, and was there times when you're
but that's all the shit that I'm venting about. You know what I mean? Like that's life. Like that's life for everybody. Like 99% of the people in this country, that's what they wake up with a dream, and that dream gets killed every single day they walk into work. You know, and like I knew that was killing my dream, but it was also like something that was gonna fuel me to like say everything that I said at least on the Dead American record. You know, like as an artist, and that's what I do with my art. That literally drove all of the lyrics. Was just fucking the craziest life that I never thought I would have lived if I was in Zeus any before Zeus, and if you had asked and told me to live this life, I'd be like, no way, you know. And that's just the reality of life. Like, I'm sure you didn't, when you were like playing music, you're not like, oh, I'm gonna go into VR.
Yeah, man, it didn't exist then, really, in the same way.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm sure you had dreams of like doing cool shit with VR. Yeah, because that's a new type of art form. In the same way that I love cooking, like I love making my shit taste good and look good, and I want people to fucking be impressed. Yeah, but like, to do that just for dollars, and it's like I don't have as much fun as I do creating or even performing. Like, it's just a fucking dream killer. So it's nice to be able to like have all this life experience that I've lived post Seos, in where I never thought I'd get back to it, to like express and share with people in my hope that they will relate to, you know, what I've gone through and what I'm
absolutely
feeling.
don't you're basically telling people don't get crushed. Don't let your life get crushed. Yeah.
No.
Hey, we want to do something real quick with you guys called Walk the Plank, which is basically ask you some random questions. You get your answers because we know we want to cut this a little short tonight because we want to respect the fact that you guys are playing tonight and you took the time to do this with us, and we really appreciate that. So if you guys don't mind, you want to do a little bit of Walk the Plank?
Let's do it.
Absolutely. Chad, you want to take the reins on that one?
Oh yeah. So these questions aren't general are general in nature, sometimes esoteric, if you will. My question for you, and you can both answer separately or together, it's up to you, but it's if you could give all human beings one virtue, which one would you choose?
Oh man, I don't think I know the definition of virtue well enough.
What, kindness?
Good tiding. Yeah, sure. That's a great.
Okay, cool. I'll say graciousness, right? Graciousness or gratitude?
Gratitude.
Gratitude is a good one. If we had to pick, you know, just two, I would take gratitude, and then like being able to forgive. So forgiveness, some type of that.
That is.
I feel like most people don't know how to fucking let shit go and forgive.
That is some humble stuff. That's the humble pie there that you guys are cooking up after all those
great band,
years
by the way.
Yeah.
So my question is this, and it's a question for each of you. And what song evokes the strongest memory for you? It can be your own, or it can be something that you grew up with, or a song you heard sometime in your life. What song evokes the strongest memory for you?
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I would say it might be "The Beautiful People" by Marilyn Manson.
Okay. Any reason why?
Interesting choice, but let's.
Yeah. All right, your turn.
Fuck. I was gonna say. I would probably go with Seos in 7 years. Like I remember hearing that. Boom, boom, and just being like, I already love it. Like that translating the name EP, just I hear any of those songs and it's just like I'm in high school again, just dying to see my favorite band. And so anytime I hear those songs, but probably 7 years would be
well, you guys are reaching back to that's great.
So there's one last part to this that I think is interesting. Every week we ask the guest that we just interviewed to ask a question to next week's guest without knowing who the guest is going to be. So last week we had the band Kaleido, so you know this. They were on the ship with you. They didn't know
hell
that
yeah.
You guys.
They were gonna come out in fucking Detroit, and it started snowing like mad crazy.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
why.
Winter.
That's why I couldn't make it, because it was snowing. And I knew it was something.
It was fucking gnarly, dude.
It was really bad. So their question to whomever it was going to be this week, which is you guys, is what's your favorite childhood memory?
Oh, that's a good one.
All right, I got this one. For me, I was like 8 years old, and it was April. It was what's the Christian holiday? Why am I Easter?
Easter.
I'm blowing it right now. Sorry, Mom. It was Easter. I just got back from church, and on my bed was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pizza shooter, still in the box, son. I still got that shit to this day.
That's dope.
You guys, it's so dope. So that was
in the box. Is it still in the box?
Yeah.
Hell no! I wish it was.
Okay, very good.
Money. Are you kidding me? I would have sold that shit years ago. No, that for sure. That was like highlight of my fucking life at that point.
Yeah. Well, I don't remember my favorite childhood memory, but I will say that because I'm in this like frame of mind, the reason I chose Antichrist Superstar by Marilyn Manson is because one of my best friends at the time, who introduced me into a lot of things, like the Antichrist, or what is it? No, what was that book that taught you how to make bombs and stuff?
The
Anarchist Cookbook. Yeah.
The Anarchist.
Chad, I'm afraid why do we know that?
Yeah, it was real quick on that.
Everyone in
Anarchist
unison. Anarchist Cookbook. Yep. Basically, like he was just subversive, right? He would try to find everything that was hard to find, or do things that were generally counterculture for the sake of counterculture, shock value. And he taught me how to make napalm. He taught me how to like phone jack people. He taught me how to, and he introduced me to a lot of the first music that kind of like shaped my musical taste. And I'm thrilled to go see him and his fiance's wedding in Louisiana. Like,
times have changed.
Yeah,
from a MacGyver to married.
Of that book. You should.
Yeah, there you go.
Man, we were walking around the suburbs throwing Molotov cocktails made out of light bulbs and gasoline.
Similar stories, man. It was awful, but awesome.
Yeah. For Pouyan, who didn't really have a favorite childhood memory, that was very vivid.
I lighting things on fire.
I think what I'm saying is that might have been my favorite childhood memory.
He's the definition of scary kids.
Yeah.
Right there. Perfect.
Oh, that's great. So then it's your turn. You get to ask our you can't know who's going to be, but you get to ask the question to them.
Okay, so these are all like touring musicians, yeah?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Okay, I'll toss one out there, and maybe you'll have a better one, or maybe it'll spark something else. What was the toughest moment on the road where you're like, holy shit, why have I chosen this life?
Okay. That's
right?
great.
I would follow that up with probably like, what's like the toughest band you've ever had to play in front of?
Okay. Also good one.
Like toughest band? Oh, okay, for whatever reason. Maybe you just idolize them, right?
Yeah. I had a, so here's my example, and you can maybe use this. I played a show in New Jersey. Glassjaw hadn't played a show in like 3 years or something like that.
Yeah.
And we're playing like a festival.
Yeah.
And Seosin is like, I want to say we weren't even the main support band. Literally, I had 35 minutes, and I got on stage and was like, all right, kids, because I knew I was going to get heckled by Glassjaw fans. I was like, all right, here's what's going to happen. We're going to play all these songs as fast as we fucking can. We're going to get the fuck off the stage. I'm going to be right over there, sitting down, watching Glassjaw. If you guys want to come hang out with me, see me, I'm sorry, but I'm just not going to acknowledge you. We're going to fucking play this show because, you're going to fucking yell crazy shit at me the whole time. And they did.
They still did.
They still did.
So
and it was like
mitigate all your fears.
It was just like I tried to get it out of the way. They still fucking
for some reason.
Yeah. I was like, dang it. All right. Well, I tried.
You may have planted a seed in their head because they probably weren't even thinking that, and they said, "Wait a minute, yeah, we are gonna fucking heckle these guys."
Definitely thinking that. Everybody who literally everybody who was on our stage playing before us was like getting owned by this crowd and coming off so bummed out that I was like, dude, I'm not gonna be bummed out. Like, I'm just gonna get up there and do my shit so I can go over and have a fuckload of fun watching Glassjaw.
Yeah. Like, you're like, I get it, okay? I love the band too.
I get it. Trust me, I want to get off stage too. I don't want to be here, but I gotta get paid.
That's a tough one, dude. I've been in that crowd and been like, get off the stage, Serena, or whatever.
Yeah.
I've been that guy.
Honestly, it was super wild, but Glassjaw ripped so hard that night, and it was like all the heckling, all the bullshit. It was worth it. So
yeah,
well earned.
That would be my question. What's the toughest band you've ever had to play with?
All right. So to recap. What's your toughest? Okay, this is the tough package. What's the toughest road moment you've had that made you ask, why the fuck am I doing this? And then to follow that up is, and also, what has been the most tough? What has been the toughest band for you to play in front of? Meaning on a bill and have their fans look at you before the thing they're there to see comes out.
Like, what the hell?
Okay. Yeah. Does that feel good for you guys?
Yes.
The tough combo.
Sick. Well, guys, listen, we've had you for almost an hour. We can't thank you enough. We know you have a show coming up here. Well, probably in moments.
I do.
But thanks.
They get,
you
like another hour. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, they get to go to catering and yeah, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, lucky
Anyway,
bastard.
hey, check out Dead American. That's Cove's band. Well, you guys are you still on Equal Vision? Is that the label?
Velocity.
Velocity. Okay,
We're on
gotcha.
Velocity
Sorry.
Records. Yeah.
Velocity
No, you're good.
Records. Speaking of Velocity Records, the new Scaring Kids record, Out of Light, comes out May 25th on Velocity Records as well. Check that out. The new single's out right now with Cove actually handling vocals on that.
Yep.
Guys, thanks a lot. Thanks for being part of the ShipRocked experience, and thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, thanks so much
Seriously.
for having us. man. It's
Yeah,
been awesome.
especially on the show.
Everybody add our name to that list.
Yes, to the survey
Add our
at
name to
Dead
the
American
fucking list.
and Scary
The survey.
Kids. Put it on the survey. You
I'm
win
going
some
there right
points.
Put it
now.
on
I'm
the
putting it
survey.
on right now.
Right. That's right.
Hell
So,
yeah,
guys,
that's what I'm talking
if
about.
you want to check out this full episode, it drops this Monday wherever you pick up our stream podcast and also on the Ask For YouTube channel starting at 9 a.m. Eastern time this Monday. We'll be back next week. So for myself and my co-host Chad, we also want to thank Al, our show producer, Heather, our show coordinator, Jen, our lovely show engineer, and of course the captain, Alan Koenig. So
Sounds like a
thanks,
sick
guys.
dumb bill when
Appreciate
you
it.
do that.
Knock them dead.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Have a good show.
All right, guys.
See you
Take
soon.
care, man.